Welcome to class number 6 of the Niche Content Crash Course. Today's class is going to be all about sales writing. This is going to cover both review page writing and also sales page writing. The difference being with a review page, typically you're trying to sell somebody else's product. With sales page writing, you are typically trying to sell your own product. So for Amazon affiliate websites, for example, the review page writing will be the main one that you will be looking to focus on. This will be where you have a dedicated page for a specific type of product. Could possibly be for a specific type of product limited to a particular brand. And it could be covering one item, or it can also be covering multiple items, just kind of depending on what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to sell on that particular page of your website. Now again, the final writing blueprint, number 4, is included along with this particular class. So to start out with, I'm going to be talking to you about how you should be writing these sales and review pages, your objectives for these particular pieces of content, and how you can tie all this in with the rest of your website, and obviously how you can utilize this type of content to help you to refer sales. And then I will be concluding the class with a live writing demonstration for a review page, specifically for a product as an Amazon affiliate. Now to start with, I want to go over some of the differences between trying to do a review page as an affiliate and also trying to do direct sales with this type of content writing. While there are a lot of similarities between the two, the overall approach that you need to take can also be quite different with the two of them as well. One thing in particular that is important to realize is the length of one of these sales pages. Typically, when you are dealing with a product review page where you are trying to refer sales as an affiliate as opposed to direct sales, you're usually going to have less content. The main reason for this is basically the goal of the page. You're still trying to sell a product with either of these types of pages. However, the goal of your actual website can be quite different with these two types of pages. With an affiliate review page, you're still trying to sell the product, but you don't have to actually completely convince somebody to buy that product directly on your review page. Instead, your main goal is to actually get somebody to click on your affiliate advertisement. They will then be taken off to a direct sales page on another website, for example, on the Amazon website, and the purchase is actually happening there. So that page is really responsible for turning your ad clicks into sales for you. With a direct sales page, though, it's entirely up to you. You have to convince the reader to buy that product by the time they reach the end of your page. So the difference here is that you usually need to do more writing, more convincing for your visitor when you're dealing with a direct sales page compared with one of these affiliate pages. Because of this difference, a lot of your affiliate review pages may end up being somewhere between 500 and 1,000 words. They can be longer than that, just depending on how much information you have to convey to your readers, depending on whether you're trying to sell one product or multiple products on that page. Things like that can obviously drastically affect the amount of content that you would want to be putting on those pages. But with one of these direct sales pages, a lot of times you can have multiple thousands of words on one of them. So the amount of content can be a very drastic difference with those two types of content writing. I also briefly mentioned the objectives of these two types of pages. All sales pages have a predefined objective, something that you are trying to accomplish with that writing, with publishing this particular page on a website. The way you structure your writing, the way you structure and even place different pieces of content, where you put your advertisement or your buy button, can have a drastic effect on whether or not you are able to accomplish these objectives. Because remember, with an affiliate review page, your objective, while it may be to try to refer a sale, ultimately you just want to convince the person to click on your affiliate ad. But with a sales page, you need to convince them to actually buy the product. Now, for affiliate pages, you will often find yourself having more than one objective if you are promoting multiple products on that one page. This is typically not going to be the case, though, with a direct sales page. You're usually just trying to sell one product on any given direct sales page. And so you end up only having one buy button, or perhaps a couple of buy buttons, but for different options for the same product. With an affiliate page, though, each different product that you want to promote will have a different advertisement to go along with it. So getting someone to click on that ad or one of those ads is the objective of those affiliate review pages. Now, if you have decided to create a page where you want to try to sell more than one product, you're going to have to space them out a little bit. It's really not going to make sense with an affiliate review page if you provide content on each of the different products throughout your page, and then you try to lump all of your advertisements for all of those products down at the bottom. That really doesn't work out the best. Personally, I prefer to go with fairly plain advertisements. You still want them to stick out enough to be noticed, but you really don't have to go overboard with these things. In fact, the more flashy you try to make those advertisements, usually the worse they will perform. So I go for something fairly simple. Might be just an image and a short title for that product, sometimes with a buy button, sometimes without a buy button. And you just link all of this up using your affiliate link. For the direct sales pages, though, in almost all cases, you want your buy button or buy buttons to go all the way down at the bottom of the page or fairly close to the bottom of the page. However, if you decide to create an extremely long sales page, sometimes it can be helpful to create additional buttons that will let somebody jump down to those payment buttons. That way, if at any point during reading through your sales page, if somebody decides that they are ready to buy, they don't have to read or scan through the rest of your content before they are able to quickly jump to the point in that content where they can actually complete that purchase. The payment button that you use with a direct sales page, you usually want it to be fairly large. And you also want to make it very clear on how much the product is going to cost them. You do not have to really worry about doing that on an affiliate review page though. So those are some of the main differences between these two different types of content writing, even though in a lot of ways they can be fairly similar as far as the type of content you want to actually be writing. Now, something else that is very important to consider when you are writing these pages is that you simply need to be thinking like the buyer. I find a lot of times with any kind of a sales page that a lot of times people will go overboard. They're trying too hard to push the product or to try to talk it up. But I really find more success if you are a little more subtle with how you go about trying to accomplish your goals, whether it's getting someone to click on an ad or whether it is trying to get somebody to actually complete the purchase directly on your page. I always recommend, and personally do this myself, to try to take what I call the friend perspective. This is basically where you act like you have just gone out and bought this product. Put yourself in the buyer's shoes. When you first try out this product, what are the reasons you like it? What were the reasons that compelled you to even buy it in the first place? These are really the things that you should be focusing on when you are trying to write these pages. You don't have to endlessly list all the different features of the product. That's kind of more of that pushy, salesy type of approach. So instead, think about if you have just gone out and bought something, think about the last product that you went out and bought that you were really excited about for whatever the reason may be. Do you keep that information to yourself? Or do you end up talking to a friend or a family member about that product? Well, when you do talk to somebody that's close to you about one of these products, you're not trying to talk to them like you're the salesman in the store, trying to convince them that maybe this is something that they need to buy too. Again, you're not going to be rattling off a big list of features for these products. Instead, you would likely be focused on maybe a couple of particular features for that product, but you're really focused on them in a different way. Sometimes those features will help you to accomplish a specific type of goal that you had set out to accomplish by buying that particular product. So this is really what you want to be focusing on more when it comes to selling a product to your readers. Why was the product great for you? It may not be great for everybody for that exact same reason, but this gets you more into the personal realm of trying to sell the product. And while some people may not connect with the things that you are saying, a lot of people probably want to buy the product for the same exact reason as you. And so you will end up connecting with at least some of your readers in that way. You really can't expect to connect with everybody when you are trying to sell a product. A lot of times you may only connect with somewhere between 1 and 10 or 15% of the total readers that are on your page. And that's quite okay. If you can convince people within that percentage range to buy your product or to click on the affiliate ad for your product, then overall your content and your sales page should perform quite nicely. Also, try to focus on what the product is helping you solve or what kind of activities it is helping you to be able to do. Think about how that product is helping you and not be focused on what a salesman might typically be trying to say about it. So, that conversation that you would have with this friend or family member compared to a similar conversation that a salesman might have with you would be two completely different perspectives and experiences for that product. Now, they can both certainly work to sell products. I have tried the salesman route, and you will get some people to buy a product that way. But ultimately, you will find by taking the friend approach that you will simply be able to sell those products to a higher percentage of your readers. Now, there's one other very important thing that I need to stress having to do with this aspect of selling. If you're trying to take this friend approach and yet you have not actually purchased a product, or maybe you don't even know anything about this product up until you start to read through the sales page for it, you absolutely do not want to be lying about the product. Do a little bit of research and find those things out for yourself so you can realistically talk about it in that way. Find out how it really helps people. Find out about specific things or activities that that product will allow you to be able to do. Or maybe it will allow you to be able to do them better than you would without that product. These are the things that you want to focus on. When it comes to promoting a product as an affiliate, usually that kind of information can be fairly easy to find. For example, on the Amazon website, if you are wanting to promote one of those products as an affiliate, don't just look at the information that the seller or the manufacturer of that product provides for you. Take a look and see what other customers are saying about that product. Try to read through as many of the different reviews that are available for it as you can. And a lot of times you will find these things being mentioned and talked about within those reviews. The things that those customers have to say about the product are much more important in terms of your research to help you to figure out what you should really be writing about this product, as opposed to what the maker or the seller of the product is trying to tell you about it. Now, one other thing that is really important in terms of thinking like the buyer is trying to predict the wants and needs of the people that are visiting your website. Consider how traffic actually arrives on your site. Specifically, how the traffic is getting to your sales page. Are they performing a Google search to get to your sales page? Are they first landing on a different page of your website, perhaps a page of informational content that then leads them to your sales page? What keywords, what are those pages about that they have used to actually get to your page? Knowing this type of information can help you to better write for those readers. If they are specifically searching for information on how to do a particular activity and they land on a page of informational content about that activity, and then they move along to your sales page, that particular activity should be maybe not the entire focus of your sales page, but it should certainly be covered on that sales page enough to where the people that are interested in it for that particular purpose, so you can convince them that this is the right product for wanting to do whatever it is that they are wanting to do with it. Even though it is possible to create a page on your website and just basically blindly try to sell the product by talking about it in general ways, by endlessly listing features or talking about, different uses that that product might be helpful for, you will simply have a lot more success when you can genuinely try to help connect your readers to the product that is right for them, that's right for what they want or right for what they need. And again, the reason or the way you go about doing this is by figuring out how people arrive on your page. What keywords are they searching? Do they land directly on your sales page from those keywords, or are they landing on a different page of your website that is then funneling them to your sales page? So try to follow those breadcrumbs to figure out how they are getting to your site. You can use something as simple as Google Analytics to track the traffic that is on your sales page, figuring out where did that traffic come from. Did it come from other pages of your website? Did it come from a search engine search? If the traffic comes from other pages on your site, investigate those pages too and figure out how people are arriving on those pages, so you can have a clear picture in your mind of what people are really looking for. What are people really interested in when they get to this sales page of yours? Now, just like you would for pretty much any piece of content that you want to write, you still want to be doing some brainstorming, kind of creating an outline for your content before you actually begin writing it. This might involve targeting various subtopics having to do with the product that you want to sell. This also ties into what I was just previously talking to you about, where you're trying to think like the buyer and predicting their wants and needs. You can have different pieces of content within that page, different subtopics on that page, and each of them might address one of these different aspects or ideas or activities that you believe people will be interested in when they have arrived on this page of yours. This way, you're not just blindly choosing information to go into your content. You're basing it on real results. You're basing it on this predicted behavior of your users. So you figure out what they want when they land on your page, and then you try to give them that content to help to convince them of that sale. When you use this particular approach with a sales page, sometimes a lot of these subtopics will end up being informational type of subtopics. This also goes back to kind of the friend approach. where you're not just pushing product features on them, you're actually trying to talk to them like they're a good friend of yours, and not just trying to blindly sell them a product, but you're trying to sell them a product that is right for them and their actual needs. However, you do sometimes end up with at least some subtopics that are kind of more based on the product or based on features of the product. And it is quite okay to do that, but I recommend trying to have a healthy balance of the two. That way, your entire page overall does not come across as being too salesy. It comes across as being more helpful. So, what I recommend to do is to first brainstorm the different informational subtopics for your product that will help to connect your readers with buying that product. And then try to figure out the product or multiple products for those different subtopics that you believe will be the best choice for your readers. Now, this also kind of works the same way for a direct sales page. You have a lot of these different informational topics, and then ultimately, you just have one little section that is really talking about the actual product itself, that might be revealing the features or what is included with that product. So you're not necessarily just trying to sell the product, but you're trying to sell what the product can do for somebody, how it can help them, how it can help to solve specific problems for them, how it can help them with performing various activities. This stuff is much more important than just providing them with a list of features and telling them what they're going to get. Now, another part of this brainstorming has to do with keyword targeting. I recommend first to start with your brainstorming to try to get these different topics or subtopics figured out that you believe will be the best fit for what it is you are wanting to sell. And then go back through that list for your outline and try to research each of these topics on Google and also using the Google Keyword Planner. Your goal with this step is to try to find simply a keyword phrase or maybe a couple of different keyword phrases for each of the items on that list. Now, you don't have to find a great keyword phrase for every single thing on the list. If you believe information will be useful there, whether or not it is targeting a keyword phrase, by all means, keep that information on your page. But when you can find these keywords, just simply revise your list a little bit so the way you phrase those different subtopics will relate back to one of these keyword phrases. This will help you to attract additional search engine traffic onto your actual sales pages, in addition to perhaps being able to get traffic off of other pages of your website. Now, I'd also like to go into a little more detail for you on what exactly you want to be doing on the two main types of sales pages, the review pages and then also the direct sales pages. So I'm going to start off with the review pages here, and then I will proceed on to the direct sales pages afterwards. So with a review page, you first want to begin by using that brainstorming research to create an outline for the topics and the various pieces of content that you want to be writing on it. Once you kind of have this list of subtopics, try to organize it in a way that you believe will make the most sense for your readers. If need be, you can always condense or even expand these subtopics. Maybe you have a couple of different subtopics that are fairly similar to each other, and so you might want to try to squeeze them into just one subtopic and then talk about those different aspects within that subtopic. On the other hand, you may also find yourself with some subtopics that need even more explanation. Maybe you can't realistically explain that subtopic with just a couple of paragraphs worth of content. Or maybe that subtopic can be broken down into even more specific subtopics. Once you kind of get your whole outline brainstormed and researched and organized, it usually becomes a lot more clear on, whether certain subtopics of these need to be condensed or expanded on a little bit. So what I recommend to do is to first begin your outline with your informational based subtopics that are going to help to convince your reader to buy the product. And then you want to end with your product based subtopic, where you're basically going to provide more of that salesy type of review to try to finish it off. Sometimes you will have multiple products that you are wanting to promote on one of these pages, and that's quite okay. Sometimes you might group them all together down towards the bottom of your page. Other times you might want to space them out throughout your informational subtopics. It really just kind of depends on what you believe will be the best fit for your readers. If certain informational subtopics specifically lead somebody into wanting to buy one particular product that you're reviewing on that page, it's quite okay to provide an informational topic or two, then to provide a product review to try to sell that product, and then to continue on with more informational topics and another product review further down the page. Again, something like that would be better off used if the different informational topics relate to one specific product that you recommend for people to buy for those purposes. So once you have this outline, each subtopic item on the outline will then become a little piece of header text on your page. You can just simply turn this text into bold text so it stands out when people are scrolling through your content. Then you want to write paragraphs of text below each of those headers, and that text will be used to explain that subtopic. Once you have all of these different subtopics written out and you have provided some content to explain each of them, you want to add an introduction to the very beginning of your article. And this introduction is basically going to be a summary of that article. What can people expect to find in your article? What type of problems might you be trying to help them solve? This can also be a really great way to include various keyword phrases that you are wanting to target on that page. For example, in the very first sentence of that introduction, I recommend using whatever primary keyword phrase you want to target on that page. But then you can also use a lot of these other relational words, semantic words, within that introduction. And this can have a drastic effect on your ability to get search rankings for those different keyword phrases. Sometimes the product review pages that you write will just be targeting one specific product, But personally, I like to do not all of my review pages, but at least some of my review pages, making them brand based, where I'm trying to sell one specific type of product, but within a single brand or company, they might have multiple different models essentially of the same type of product. Each of these models might help to address a different need or a different activity or a different purpose for using that specific product. For these brand-based product pages, I also like to try to include a history of the brand or the company within that introduction. But I make sure to not do this as the first paragraph of that introduction if I can help it, because that first paragraph is best used to try to address what the entire page is about, and also to try to make sure you're including a lot of those keyword phrases that you're wanting to target on the page. So I try to put it past that first paragraph worth of content, but still, this is something that is kind of part of this introduction. Now, beyond outlining your content and then using that outline to help you to write your content, the other thing that will be a part of your product review pages is going to be a call to action, possibly multiple calls to action. And on these review pages, this will be in the form of an affiliate ad. Again, you don't want these to come across as very salesy. You want them to be noticeable, but you want them to be pretty toned down. As I mentioned before, a lot of times what I will use is simply an image of the product, a title for that product, and sometimes a buy now button for the product. Now, the buy now button included with an affiliate ad, it has its pros and cons. Typically, the buy now button is going to reduce the number of clicks that you actually receive on that advertisement. However, when people are aware ahead of time that by clicking on that ad that they're going to be proceeding to a page to sell that product to them, it will generally increase the conversion rates. That would be the number of clicks that you get compared with how many of those people actually complete the sale. Sometimes this is just a matter of personal preference. I've done websites both ways, using these buy buttons, and others where I don't use the buy buttons. So think about which one you personally prefer and try those out first. And if you're not seeing the results that you want to be seeing, just simply try switching it and try the other one. There's certainly nothing wrong with doing a little bit of testing on your page to figure out what is going to work best for you, best for your readers. Now, when you're dealing with a direct sales page where you're trying to sell a product of your own, the outline for this kind of a page is usually going to be a little different from an affiliate review page. A big part of the reason why is going back to what I was talking about earlier, where you usually need more content to try to sell a product directly than you would to just get somebody to click on that affiliate ad. So an outline for one of these direct sales pages will generally have a lot more of these informational based subtopics. But again, you can kind of do this a little more so when you have a direct sales page to have those feature-based subtopics where you are simply telling people what the product can do, or where you are talking about kind of the main selling points of that product. One of the things you want to make sure you are doing, no matter what the subtopic is, don't just be cut and dry and be like, the product has these different features. Tell people why those features are going to help them. What are the benefits of having a product that contains those different features? When you sell a product for what it can do for people in very specific situations, this brings a lot more sales than just a strictly fact or feature-based type of a sales page. Again, you want to structure this outline in a similar way of what you would do with a review page. You have your list of subtopics that you want to cover. Each of those subtopics then becomes a header on your page. And then you simply write paragraphs of text below each of those headers to explain that subtopic. When you're dealing with a direct sales page, though, I generally try to go a lot heavier on the usage of images to kind of help people to visualize what you are talking about, especially since these pages of content usually end up being a lot longer than a review page. These images can help to break up really long chunks of text, can help people to be able to look at and read these pieces of content and to understand what you are trying to convey with them. Once you have this list of subtopics and you expand it out with paragraphs of text for each of them to explain them, you still want to take a similar approach at this point as you would with a review page. You want to add an introduction to the beginning of the article, again, where you are including your primary keyword phrase that you want to target, in addition to various semantic keywords that you want to target. However, with a direct sales page, I highly recommend to start the content, the very first sentence that people will read on your page, as not just a paragraph of text, but you want to put a really large, bold header that is going to stand out, where you are giving your readers what I call a big promise. What is it that you're going to deliver or help them to solve by the end of that sales page from them purchasing this product? For example, if I was trying to create a sales page to directly sell an electric rechargeable lawnmower, I might put as the big promise at the top of my page something like, read my story below to discover how I easily mow my lawn without ever spending a penny on gasoline. You're not specifically telling people, hey, I'm going to try to sell you a lawnmower here. You're getting them excited about this big promise, something that you feel like is going to appeal to a lot of the people that are going to land on this page. And then all these different subtopics that you're going to be talking about throughout that sales page should help to reinforce that initial big promise, to tell people why it's important, what are the benefits. And one other thing that's a lot of times important to address on a sales page is the bad stuff that could potentially happen without using that product. Because fear can actually be a really huge motivator when it comes to convincing somebody to buy something. The fear of not using a product and what that might mean for you can be a big motivation factor. So once you have this big promise and your introduction and all these different subtopics where you are talking about the product and how it's going to be used or how it's going to benefit your reader, you want to end your sales page with a call to action again. For a direct sales page, this call to action is going to be a payment button. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can put a payment button on one of these direct sales pages. For example, if you go onto PayPal and you try to generate a payment button, these payment buttons are honestly pretty tiny. They really do not stand out very much. And they're usually not telling people even what the product is going to cost. However, you can create your own payment button for that particular purpose. Something that's much larger, it might just be as simple as saying buy now. It might list the different payment options that you would accept, and it might provide the price of that product. And then you simply use the text link from that PayPal payment button to link it up with that image. So when somebody clicks on it, it still takes them to the same place that that PayPal payment button would have taken them, but you're using that custom buy now button as a way to get their attention to provide more trust. Now you can also use various vendor networks that allow you to sell your products on those networks. Something like JVZoo, for example, works especially well for digital products that you want to sell. JVZoo will automatically allow you to generate these payment buttons, and they are typically a much better choice than a standard basic PayPal button would be. Those JVZoo payment buttons are going to be a lot larger. They stand out on the page, they state the price of the product, and they also to help to build some trust. Because a lot of times, people that are used to buying that type of product, they may have seen those payment buttons before. And so it kind of gives them a sense of calm that they are familiar with doing a purchase through this particular vendor network. Now, one of the other things that I recommend to go along with this call to action, along with this payment button, when you are dealing with a direct sales page, is to provide a little bit of content that goes right before this payment button. I like to do a one paragraph brief summary of what it is that I am selling. And then I like to provide a list of everything that is being included with that purchase. So this very final piece right before the buy button is more of a fact or feature based type of a piece of sales content, as opposed to the rest of the article that's taking the more friendly approach. The reason being why this is important here on a direct sales page right before your call to action is just so you can make it very clear to your potential customer of exactly what they are going to receive when they complete that purchase. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I'm also going to be doing a live writing demonstration as part of this particular class. But before I actually dive into that, I wanted to show you two quick examples of what I've been talking about here today. One of which will be a review page type of a piece of sales content. The other one will be a more of a direct sales type of a page. This page here is my IKEA Down Comforters review page. This is what I would refer to as a brand review page, where I'm not trying to cover everything in the IKEA brand, because for a lot of brands, they have an obscenely large number of products that cover all types of different things. But instead, I'm trying to cover one specific type of product within that brand. And then my content will be centered around that specific type of product for that brand. So I start out by talking about giving them an introduction, talking a little bit about the company itself here, talking about some of the specific models that are available for this type of product. Again, this is helping me to include a lot of these keyword phrases that I am trying to target within this content. Then I have informational content. I have a number of different subtopics here where I believe these are important things to be discussing with my readers, things that relate to the actual product. What is inside of these down comforters? How do you know how warm or cool these comforters will be for you? How do you take care of them? How do you wash them? A lot of times this stuff is kind of the main features of these types of products that people are looking at. I then continue down into my more straightforward types of product reviews, but I'm still trying to take a friendly approach in a lot of cases here, where I don't just talk about the product and what the features are. I try to help people make an educated decision on which one is going to be right for them. I also do something here on this particular page that a lot of affiliates completely avoid. I talk about products that are no longer even available for sale. The reason why I do that is because even though a product might be discontinued, it doesn't mean that people don't still search for that product. So somebody might have been having a conversation with their friend and telling them how much they love this particular type of down comforter. Then they go to Google and they start searching for it, and they realize that it's been discontinued. This can a lot of times result in basically a dead-end search for them. So I try to take this type of situation and turn it into something useful to try to eliminate that dead end, and instead provide them with the modern day alternative of what this product was basically replaced by. And so I do this for actually 3 different models of these IKEA down comforters. And again, you can see over here on the left, these are my affiliate ads that I am using. Just like I was telling you before, something fairly simple and straightforward. An image of the product, the title of the product, but you don't want this title to be too long or too descriptive. If you can, just provide the brand and the model of that particular product. And then I have a buy now button included along with these. I also provide a brief comparison chart talking about a number of the main features and how these features differ among each of these models that are available. And a lot of times I'll even include very simple affiliate ads where it might be just as simple as taking the product title or the model of that product and linking it up with that page using my Amazon affiliate link. I also continue on this page and talk about one other kind of product under this brand name that goes along with these down comforters, this being an insert for duvet covers. Something still would be used on a bed. All the way down here at the bottom of my page, I'm providing more of the general information for these products. This would be the typical type of stuff that you are often going to find on most affiliates' review pages. You'll usually even find this type of information on the Amazon website itself. But I have not made this content the star of my page. I am including it here for people that are interested in this type of information. I'm also including it here, though, for search engines, because I may not have talked about certain features, perhaps, within the rest of my content up above. And by simply including some information about those different keywords, can again help me to attract more search engine traffic for those topics. Now, when you're dealing with a direct sales page, you again have typically a much larger page, a lot more content, a lot more in-depth information, because you don't have the ability to depend on the affiliate website to complete that sale for you. You have to convince somebody all on this one page to actually buy the product from you. And again, as you can see, I start up at the top with my big promise. For this one, avoiding 99% of the competition from your fellow Amazon affiliates. This would be more what I consider my introduction. I also a lot of times will include a video along with it. And even though my sales buttons, my buy buttons, are all the way down at the bottom of my page, I include a number of these buttons throughout my content that allows people to simply jump down to them. You can also see that going through the rest of my content, it's very heavy on images. It's not just endless paragraphs of text. This is intended to help to make the content easier to understand. You may also do things like including personal reviews that people have provided you for those products, frequently asked questions and the answers to those questions. And again, multiple places where people can actually jump to buying the product. There's one, there's two, there's three, there's four. Just on this one page, clicking any of them will jump people straight to my buy buttons. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be doing a live writing demonstration for you guys today, so you can actually see how I would go about writing and compiling one of these sales pages. I'm specifically going to be doing a review page for you here today. And this is based off of writing blueprint number 4, which I've included as part of this particular class. The first part of this process is to be aware of what keywords you actually want to target. So I might go over to the Google keyword tool and search for keywords that relate to the product. I'm going to write a review on this particular product today, the Hydro Innovations Icebox. And this is actually a product that I have purchased in the past. So I personally know about this product. I know what it's used for. I know the problems that it helps people to try to solve. If I did not know this stuff though, I can just jump down to the customer reviews and read about this product. I can find out what exactly is this used for? How efficient is it going to be? Are there any limitations to it? What kind of situations might people want to be using this for? Now, there actually are a lot of different ways that this product can be used, but the basic point is that it is a heat exchanger where you're passing air through it and you are passing liquid through it as well. So the air goes through the big open part here, passes through this metal, and the liquid is going through these tubes. It's going in one tube and it passes through this metal heat exchanger in the middle, and the liquid comes out the other side. When you have hot air going through this and cold water going through the tube, the air comes out the other side cooler, and the water comes out warmer than it was. This can also be done in reverse, though, where you pass cold air through it and hot water through it to warm up the air, and then it would return cooler water. So one of the things that I need to know before I actually start to write this content is, what would people search for when they might either be trying to find this specific product or when they might be wanting to figure out what this specific product is. So this would be in a case where people, they know they want to maybe cool an area, but they don't really know how to go about doing it. They don't know what the product is really going to be called. I like to try to address both of these aspects of it. That way you are capturing search traffic from both angles as well. Now, people actually searching for this product, there's not really a ton of them, but there are a lot of relational keywords that people are searching for that result in well over 100,000 searches every month. So I can kind of use these different relational keywords. I can even use the ad group ideas here to help me to figure out what would be the best words to try to target. I not only want words that are relevant, but ideally I would like at least some of these words to have a fair amount of keyword traffic to go along with them. So something here like a hydroponic water chiller might be useful. Other things having to do directly with the product itself. Any of these keywords, Hydro Innovations, Hydro 6 is actually referring to the size, the 6-inch icebox that they have here. There's also an 8-inch one of this particular kind of product. Now, the actual point of this product is something that people might refer to it as, if they don't know exactly the product that they are looking for, might be something like a water-cooled air conditioner. You can see terms like water air conditioner, water cooler air conditioner can be heavily searched for terms. Water cooled air conditioner also seems to be a pretty heavily searched one. So this particular phrase here, water cooled air conditioner, in addition to what the product is, the Hydro Innovations 6-inch icebox would likely be some of my main keywords that I would be going after. Now, in some ways, I might even consider some of these to be um, variations of my primary keyword phrase. Like Hydro 6 here would likely be one of my variations. My secondary or semantic keywords, a lot of times these would be more centered around this type of information. But since my actual product name in the brand does not carry an extremely large amount of monthly searches with it, I'm also going to be targeting something more like this as my primary keyword phrase on this particular page of content. Anything for these other semantic keywords would really be more for purposes of this particular product. Or perhaps different uses that they could be utilized with. Something like hydroponics, could be something like grow room cooling. Could even be something like energy efficient air conditioning. Now, this one particular product, it does have a pretty wide range of uses for it. Many people will be using these as a way to water cool some type of growing area used for plants. A lot of people do use this for growing plants for illegal purposes, in fact. However, there are a lot of completely legal and normal uses for this type of product as well, which is what I actually use it for. I use it for growing carnivorous plants, specifically ones that need some kind of a cooler condition. Mine happen to be mountain-based plants where at nighttime they need a pretty large temperature drop. Some people will even use this to cool the exhaust from a light that they are using to grow the plants, because a lot of the lighting setups can produce quite a bit of heat. And this in turn might heat up the area where your plants are growing and simply make them too hot to be able to grow properly. So with that said, I have a number of other different secondary or even semantic words that I want to be including that's going to help me to target the right kind of traffic that's going to be more interested in the information that I'm going to be providing them. So I'm going to target the things that I know, the things that I personally use this product for cooling grow lights, for providing temperature drops for different kinds of highland plants, such as carnivorous plants. This can also be useful for growing orchids, something that has a very large market for it. So once I know exactly what I want to be targeting, then I can proceed on with writing out my article. To begin with, I start with a title for my article. This is something where I want to try to include my primary keyword phrase, or at least base it on one of those keyword phrases. But I don't just want to use the keyword phrase by itself. I want to try to make it a little bit more creative than that. So I'm going to use Hydro Innovations Icebox for water-cooled air conditioning will be my title of this particular product. For my description, this is basically going to be a little more in-depth explanation of the title, basically a summary of my entire article, but still compressed into just being one sentence. I want this to be less than 140 characters, ideally. So I'll say something like how to create an energy efficient water cooling air conditioner using heat exchangers. I'm still, in a lot of ways, just kind of restating what my title is. Some of my keywords are still being transferred down below here, but then I'm also kind of using some semantic words here. For example, the Hydro Innovations Icebox is a heat exchanger. So instead of calling it that once again here in my description, I'm using another word for it, something that people might search for having to do with that particular product. Now for my article summary, this is something that's not going to go in the actual article itself. This would go on another page of my website where I am going to be linking up with this product review page. So here I want to make sure I am using basically a longer, more descriptive version of the description that I just wrote out a minute ago. I also want to make sure I am using as many different relational keywords or semantic words as I can. This again will help me when it comes to getting good search rankings for this particular topic. So I might say something like, cooling a growing area can be a troubling, complicated, and even an expensive process. After many attempts to create an efficient system for this purpose, I have found that water cooling offers the most flexibility, allows for cooling to much lower temperatures, and is also cheaper than using traditional air conditioning. The idea is to have a cold water reservoir combined with a heat exchanger that can allow your growing area air to pass through it to achieve your desired temperatures. This entire process can be completely automated using temperature control systems, timers, fans, and water pumps. And then I might just put some kind of a call to action where people can realize what exactly this article is going to be covering. So I'm not necessarily trying to give in-depth information about this entire cooling system. I'm really more focused on the actual heat exchanger here. Now I move down to my article introduction. This introduction is going to be a part of my actual article. This is what my whole page will be starting off with. So I want to make sure that in my first paragraph that I am using a lot of semantic words, and that in my first sentence especially that I am using my primary keyword phrase or primary keyword phrases. So I started off by saying one of the easiest ways to create a water-cooled air conditioner is with a Hydro Innovations 6-inch icebox. This is a basic heat exchanger that allows you to pass air through it to cool it down simply using cold water. Now, in addition to this basic information here about it and what it is used for, I'm also going to get a little more specific and talk about some of the purposes that this might be used for. So here I say I personally use this to grow carnivorous plants called Nepenthes that grow in tropical mountainous regions of the world. These plants demand a 20 to 30 degree temperature drop at night compared to daytime temperatures, and this type of temperature decrease can be extremely hard to achieve using traditional AC units. This same type of growing environment can also be useful for popular plants such as orchids. Or even to cool heat exhaust from growing lights. So this gives me a fairly straightforward but also useful introduction to my article. I could even lead or end this out with basically a sentence or two that tells people what to expect out of this particular article. So I might say something like, continue reading to find out how I use the Hydro Ice Box to drastically reduce the temperature in my growing area. So now I continue on to a subtopic heading. Now you can have many different subtopics in one of these review pages. Sometimes, depending on how much information you feel like you need to provide, sometimes you might just have a couple of these subtopics. Other times you may end up with 5, 10, 20 different subtopics. It just kind of depends on the amount and the types of information that you feel like need to be portrayed to your readers. So I'm going to start out with more of an informational topic, water cooling versus traditional AC. There are many different differences between these two types of cooling systems, and it's these differences that make water cooling a better choice for my needs. I not only need to decrease nighttime temperatures drastically, but I also need to maintain high humidity while doing so. These low night temps along with high humidity are not only necessary for Hylian Nepenthes, but also for many types of orchids as well. The problem with traditional air conditioning is that water condenses on the heat exchanger. The same thing actually occurs with a water cooling system, but the layout of the heat exchanger makes this a much easier problem to deal with. For example, with a window AC unit, water will leak out of the back. And this can be very difficult to contain or to deal with. Especially when having to do with a growing area. When you use an icebox heat exchanger, you can easily control and recover this condensed water. I simply allow this water to drip back into my growing area to a reservoir that is then used to replenish the humidity in the air. With an ultrasonic fogger disc. Another big difference is energy demand. Whenever you need cooling power from a traditional AC unit, it needs power and will consume quite a bit of it. With a water cooling system, you really only need a fan and a water pump running to provide the cooling. So continuing on down to my next subtopic, here I believe that it would be useful to talk about different methods of water cooling, essentially. I might just say how to create a cold water reservoir and explain this in a little more detail in terms of how to keep this water cold. I can say there are numerous different ways to cool down water. You can actually use a traditional AC unit to accomplish this process, although it does involve the most energy use. However, many people don't realize that the Earth is a natural heat sink. You can actually bury pipes underground and run warm water through them, and this water will return cooler. This can be a complicated and even expensive process for a large system, though. But most homes already have a system like this in place without realizing it. The water pipes for your home are already buried underground. This is why, even during a hot summer, the water that comes out of your tap is generally much colder than the air temperature outside. For this reason, you can use a system connected to a garden hose or even a sink in your home to get cool water all year long. The big drawback there is that this kind of system will simply waste a lot of water. I'm going to split this writing here up into maybe a couple different paragraphs, just so I don't have one really large running paragraph worth of content. Now, depending on the number of subtopics that you want to provide, if you're using my writing blueprint, you can just simply duplicate those areas that I have shown you and reuse them as many times as needed to create as many different subtopics as you need to. Once you are finished with all of your subtopics, you'll get down to your product review. Some pages you might only have one of these, other pages you might end up with multiple of these product reviews. For mine, I'm just going to be reviewing the one product. The Hydro Innovations 6-inch icebox. I'll say something like, even though there are many different kinds of heat exchangers available on the market, this particular product is one of the best choices for growers because of its flexibility to be used in a variety of different types of situations. The 6-inch opening on the icebox is ideal for connecting ductwork or PVC pipes so you can completely contain the airflow. You can use it to cool down the air in your growing area. Or you can even use it to connect to a hood light system to cool down the exhaust heat. Many people don't realize it, but you can also use the same type of system for the opposite purpose, heating your air. This can be especially useful if you need both cooling and heating for one growing area. If plants need heat during the day and cold at night, one setup can allow for both of these to occur. All that matters is whether the water being passed through the icebox is colder or hotter than your ambient air temperatures. So with this basic type of product review, I would then simply include an Amazon affiliate ad off to the side, either the left or off to the right of this particular product review, with an image for this product, the name, the title. I'd probably just call it Hydro Innovations Icebox, or maybe just Hydro Icebox in that affiliate ad, and then either with or without a buy button to go along with it. Now the next part, the final part of this blueprint, is something that I will not need to use for this particular product, because this is just for your direct sales. So one piece above that I use is for the product reviews, and this part is just for direct product sales. So that actually gives me everything that I would need for this particular article. So now I could just go back through, copy and paste each of these different sections into my website or into a standalone text document to get my completed article. Now again, I don't actually use a couple of pieces of this in the article itself. This article summary will go on a different page of my website. This meta description will go in the details for this page when I am setting it up within WordPress. And then obviously my title is something that will end up going up at the top of my page. So combining all that together into one single text document, I then have my completed product review article. So I could now just go and copy and paste this entire article into a WordPress page. All I would need to then do is turn this subtopic text, this one and this one, into bold text, add on an affiliate ad for this icebox, and then set this as my title and connect this all up with the rest of my website. So I would now like to go ahead and open up the floor to open question and answer. Any questions that you may have, please feel free to put them into the chat box for me. And if I'm already in the middle of answering something, I will be sure to get to yours as quickly as I possibly can. Your other question here having to do with the article summary. Um, you you can do things within WordPress as a WordPress post. Personally, though, I prefer to use WordPress pages and basically manually link everything up together. So using the post feature, for example, and then having WordPress categories, you would have a category like a brands page. For this example, this would be one of my category pages, Down Comforter Brands. But I again just do all of this using WordPress pages. So I would just create a page called Down Comforter Brands, and then I will manually write and compile this page together to give me full control over how all of this is getting displayed, and even full control over all of the content of this particular page. I'm just not really that huge of a fan of using the WordPress post and category feature and having it automate that entire process for me. So your question about the final article summary, this is basically where I end up putting it. So for my IKEA page here, this was my final article summary. And then I just manually link up using the title, a read more link in many cases, and even an image. And all of this links up to the other page that I have created, which is the actual product review page. Now, this is kind of just a matter of personal preference, just because I'm not a big fan of the way the default WordPress category and post system works. There's just certain aspects of it that are either impossible to completely control or very difficult to control, where I find myself having to kind of alter the default system to really get it to do certain things that I want it to do. So I just personally prefer to um, use just WordPress pages and then just manually link all of these different aspects together. Sure, John. John's asking if I could please reiterate why product ads shouldn't be lumped at the bottom of an article. It's really just, it's kind of situational in a lot of cases where there are some examples, like here, I do have basically all of my informational content at the top of the page, and then I have kind of lumped a lot of my product ads all down at the bottom. What I was mainly referring to when I made that statement would be more of a situation like this direct sales page, where I wouldn't necessarily want to have them lumped together in this type of a scenario without really having a lot of extra content to go along with it. Just simply because when I'm promoting a number of different products, I feel like some separation is needed. You need to be able to explain each of these products a little bit to go along with the relevant affiliate ad. If I were to just have this same page and remove these 3 ads right here and move them all the way down to the bottom of the page and have one on the left, one in the center, one on the right, it's just not going to make a lot of sense with the way I have displayed my content. So in most cases, at least, I find it best to make sure the ad is going along with the relevant content. It also helps to space those ads out on the page. But sometimes I will have them a little bit grouped together, like what you see here on the page. Other times, if different informational topics directly relate to a product that I'm promoting, for example, if this downfill topic only related to maybe the Hansbar comforter, I would put this chunk of text and the advertisement for it directly underneath this subtopic. And then maybe my next subtopic would be addressing the next type of product. This would be more in a situation like maybe each product has a very particular use. Um, let's say I have a page that is all about a particular brand of snowshoes, and I'm covering maybe 2 or 3 different products within that brand of snowshoes, but maybe each snowshoe model has a very specific purpose. Maybe one is meant for just recreational walking. Maybe another is meant for racing. Maybe another is meant for all-terrain hiking. I might have an informational topic that covers each of those specific uses, and then I would directly follow that with a review and an advertisement for the product that connects with that particular use. So that's kind of the main reason, or the main reasons I should say, for not really just lumping all of my ads down at the bottom of the page. I spread them out. I put them with the relevant pieces of content just because it makes more sense that way for the readers. Whereas with a direct sales page, it usually is only one product or maybe different options for the same product that I'm trying to sell, and all of the content on that entire page has to do with that product. And so again, I lump those at the bottom of the page with a direct sales, but not with an affiliate sales page for those reasons.